I'm Anna, and welcome to today's message. What is a true Christian? From 1 Peter 2:21. For to this you have been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example, so that you might follow in his footsteps. This verse calls believers to imitate Christ and be like him in character and to act in Christ-like ways. And this includes patience, humility, being steadfast, and especially during adversity. And this sometimes means that you have to endure some unjust treatment and do it with grace. You have to suffer a little, even when you're doing good and despite the opposition around you. It means maintaining faith and trusting God during trial and tribulation, and seeing those as opportunities. That means in order to honor your calling, you have to persevere and you have to have faith and moral integrity. Now, I've told you that, I receive what I call a lot of adversity. I get a lot of hate mail. And this week, I was called an untrue Christian. I was called an unusual hippie preacher, whatever that is. And I was told by somebody that I think I'm above others by saying the things I do about Christ consciousness, which actually is entirely the opposite of who I really am. If you know my story, it is filled with many happenings, some of them gross, embarrassing, and just things that people wouldn't share. Each of them has been a humbling experience. And I even began my journey even afraid to tell any of it at all. But I did it in obedience. Now, all of this is occurring because I preach love. That is what I feel I'm called to do. It doesn't mean that I don't understand that Jesus came here to stir things up, but I really do understand. And above all else, even though he stirred things up, he did it in love. And that is how I try to live my own life. That is what I will do until I die. And I will take as many people to heaven with me as I can. Now, today I want to tell you about someone that you maybe haven't heard about before. And I've spent some time studying him, mostly because I relate to him quite a bit. And his name is A.W. Tozer. He once said, a true Christian is an unusual person. They love someone that they've never seen, and they speak daily to someone that they cannot see. They believe in heaven because of someone else's sacrifice. They find their own emptiness to be filled with Christ. They admit they are wrong so that they can be made right. They rise because of their weakness. They are made strong simply because they are weak. They give to keep and die in the heart to live and love more. They see and know what others say is impossible. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him. His full name is Aidan Wilson Tozer, but he was a Christian. He's a pastor, preacher, author, editor, and spiritual mentor. He was a minister for 44 years, and he was completely self-taught. He became one of the most influential figures in the 20th century. He told people about his transformation to Christianity when he heard a street preacher telling people to call on God for mercy. He preached despite lacking any formal theological education. He spent hours in libraries. He studied theology, church history, devotional literature, philosophy, poetry, and Christian mysticism. He was well known across the Protestant, Catholic, Pietist, Quaker, and other religious groups. And he began preaching in 1919 in congregations in West Virginia and Indiana and landed in Chicago, where he remained from 1928 to 1959, and then became the pastor of a church in Ontario, Canada, where he served until he died. He was well known for criticizing superficial religion and worldliness, which he perceived as causing the decline in the seriousness of the church. In the 1950s, he famously spoke saying there is no color line in the kingdom of God, when white and African American churches were still separated. He spent his years emphasizing holiness, contemplative prayer, reverence, self-denial, death of self, and consciousness of the presence of God. He described genuine religion as a consciousness and fellowship with God, and he once wrote, "True spirituality is the consciousness and unembarrassed exchange of love and thought between God and your soul." He preached about having the interior life, meaning God is omnipresent, which distinguishes him and humans who understand that he lives within from other people. He insisted that God is truly known through revelation and understanding that beyond human mastery or definition, meaning an intellectual response to Christ. He said, "There is no secret, no hidden mystical codes, no strange knowledge, just God at the center of who you are. For all others who are not Christians, there is diminished conception of who God really is." He was the example of a Christian in every sense of the word, claiming that we are all the veil that hides the face of God from us. We have to invite the cross to do its deadly work within us first, meaning that the only reason we don't experience Christ within is because we haven't surrendered to him and we allow our ego to be in the way, and we have to allow it to die. Even today, his books and spiritual teachings continue to circulate worldwide. And I encourage you to look into who he was, to see his desire to find consciousness, awareness of God, and bring others with him on his journey, which continues long after his death. Now, you might wonder why I shared him with you today. Well, it's because he was a true pioneer in Christianity, a towering figure who had a deep devotion to God, the pursuit of Christ, and he was very focused. He influenced many people, even being nicknamed a 20th century prophet. His writing is well documented and very well respected. He served God for 44 years as a pastor, and he influenced many others on his journey. He was sincere, convicted, and devoted, and called on others to choose God over the world. And last but not least, he continues to leave his legacy behind. He was the example of what you can be in the strength and power of God, but only when you believe in faith. What really we all can be. His example of self-education and devotion with his life centered on God allowed him to bridge gaps. He showed us how to pursue God and live a life of Christ-centered reality with no formal education. Just love in his heart and a desire to be conscious of Christ within. Now, we can learn a lot from him. It might be true. I might be an unusual person who loves someone that they've never seen and speaks daily to someone that they cannot see. It is true that I believe in heaven because of someone else's sacrifice. I find my own emptiness to be filled with Christ. I admit that I used to love the world and I was wrong and I was made right. I rose because of being at my weakest, because I was scooped up from there by Christ. I was made strong because of him. I give to keep, and I died in my heart to live and love more and save my soul. So I do see, and sometimes I know what others think is impossible. So maybe I am a Christian after all. I am going to end with a couple of his quotes. What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. Low views of God destroy the gospel for all who hold them and destroy the human mind along with it. We cannot afford to let our Christian standards just hold the interest of people who want to go to hell and still belong to a church. Whom God would use greatly, he will hurt deeply. And finally, to be right with God often means to be in trouble with men. Indeed. In a world where you could be anything, choose to be love. Love is the answer. If this resonated with you, please like and share my post. If you have a question for Dear Anna, please send it by direct message to our Facebook page. Questions are answered anonymously. Thank you for your donations to My Divine Mission and for helping me to keep my messages alive. Donations can be made on our website, which is linked to this message. I'll see you next time.